Good morning. Good morning. Good morning from the Pacific Northwest. Hey, I wanted to come on here really quick this morning and share with you guys some information of an article that I found. A lot of you that have been following me know that I love to travel. And of course, we still can't do the traveling that we want to do for most of us across the world. But I thought it was interesting. I spent a good month in Japan. I actually spoke the language briefly, very little. I spoke like kindergarten level, they said. But it was a beautiful country. And one of the things that I feel so blessed of living in the Pacific Northwest is we have some great, great Japanese gardens. Come to find out, after reading an article out of Budget Travel, I was like, wow, Portland made the list of the top 6 in the United States. I had no idea there was over 200 Japanese gardens in the United States, and some of them date back over like 100 years. It was amazing. So I thought I would share just a few of those with you. And if you're with me live, please go ahead and say hello. Let me know where you're coming in from. Like I said, I'm here in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, USA. And my name is Julie McNamara, if we haven't met before. I love to travel. I love being outdoors. I am also an online business owner. But today we're going to talk about travel. So let me pull up this article. Again, you can go to Budget Travel and just type in the 6 most stunning Japanese gardens or whatever it is. But like I said, America has over 200 of these, and they're supposed to be traditional, and they're supposed to have tatami floor, like tea pavilions, and they have koi fish ponds, things that you think of. One of the things that I love about our Japanese gardens is the trees. You guys love the cherry blossoms. Japan actually has a cherry blossom festival every year. I think it's April or May. It's coming up. It's between now and May. So we'll pick April or May. But it's really, it's beautiful. The Japanese trees, the reds, the oranges, the peace, the zen, the serenity of it. It was just, they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And here in Portland, they're like no exception. They are beautiful, and they're right next to our world-renowned rose gardens. We have world rose gardens that we're known for here also. Just beautiful, beautiful area. But apparently, in the spring, it says here, the cherry blossom trees, visitors can take part in some of these locations with a tradition called hanami. And that's Japanese it's an age-old tradition of having a picnic under the pink flowers of the cherry blossom trees. Apparently, it's really important to them. But what I found really awesome here is it said that the number 1 Japanese garden in the United States is out of Brooklyn, New York. This is fascinating. I would love to see it. It's 52 acres. It says 52 acres. It's just famous for its striking visual appearance of this Japanese hill and pond. It says it was debuted in 1915 as one of the oldest in America. There's a lot of, it says red Shinto, perched over a 1.5 acre pond. Pretty cool. I'm going to just go through these quickly. You can look it up, but it has apparently 27 species of trees that bloom at different times. And then, of course, they're surrounded by the cherry walkway for the cherry blossom importance of the Japanese culture. So number 2, really happy, super excited because it is gorgeous here in Portland, Oregon. Number 2, Portland made it on the list. So it says after World War II, it said many American cities founded Japanese gardens as a way of rebuilding cultural understanding. That's important. In 1967, part of our zoo area, which is called Washington Park, there was a big green space. And today it's now considered one of the most impressive in the nation Japanese gardens. And it is beautiful. Now, a lot of these Japanese gardens, when you go to them and even looking up on this article, it looks like most of them are between $8 and $20. And Portland's right around that $20 range, but it's so worth it. And it overlooks Portland and Mount Hood, our famous iconic Mount Hood. But it says here that the Portland designers showcased 5 historical forms, but it's only over 5.5 acres. And I thought that was pretty big. but 52 acres in Brooklyn was amazing. But Portland has a sand and stone garden feature, which has the swirls of the gravel and the minimalist boulders, which show that Zen contrast. It also has a tea house. It has pathways and mossy paths, irregular little stepping stones, beautiful trees. It's just beautiful aesthetically. So number 3, it's in Florida. It's called the Murakami Museum and Japanese Gardens in Delray Beach, Florida. So South Florida, it says, surprisingly has really old connection with Japan. In the early 1900s, a group of Japanese farmers, this was, I thought, interesting as far as history goes, they established an agricultural colony in this part of South Florida that they named Yamato. And it's now called Boca Raton. So we've heard of Boca Raton, but it was originally started as a colony, a Japanese colony. Well, it failed to take off. It was abandoned in the 1920s, but in 1977, it was opened again in honor of the local heritage, and it's a permanent exhibit now with this big museum, and it has a lot of the Japanese traits. It's 16 acres. It says it's known for its elegant strolling paths, stone lanterns, basins, tropical plants. Don't be surprised to see turtles, it says, iguanas, and alligators basking in the lake of the Japanese gardens. Now, hopefully you don't see those in Japan. All right, next one. Number 4 is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's called Fuso Japanese House. It opened in 1958. I had no idea these were so old as far as these gardens go with culture. They paid really close attention, it says, to authenticity to reflect Philadelphia's post-war friendship with Japan. And it uses a lot of the 17th century style housing that you find in Japan. And that is what I loved about Japan. The culture is just beautiful. These old traditions, they're Buddhist religious temples that they have, and they're just beautiful. And the gardens, they're amazing. They're really into creating that exhibits with flow and living space, and that whole Zen and yin and yang, and water is really important, and how it flows. And these ponds are just really photogenic. You can go there for $12, it says. So Seattle, another Pacific Northwest place, just about 3 hours from us, north of us, up towards Canada. And Seattle made the list at number 5. I thought that was also pretty cool how 2 Pacific Northwest states had made it into the top 200 in the country. So it says that the Japanese gardens were inspired also by 17th century Japan. And they said since 1960, they have had this whole pond area and paths that you can go around. I don't know if it said how big it was, though, but it did say that they took, the designer took careful consideration into finding local trees to mix with the Japanese traditions, as well as they went up to the Cascade Mountains, which are famous right here in our area, and brought back 500 granite boulders to surround the waterfall, to bring in the natural harmonious effect of the area, to merge it with, blend it. I mean, that's great with the Pacific Northwest and Japan. So number 6. The Cherry Blossom Grove in Washington, D.C. I've heard about the cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C., and it must be quite a sight because I hear about it every year. It sounds amazing. But in 1912, it says the mayor of Tokyo City in Japan gifted 2,000 cherry blossom trees to Washington as a symbol of growing friendship between the countries. So that's probably why they have so many trees. We have lots of cherry blossom trees here in the Pacific Northwest also. But they were planted around a national mall, and then they filled it and saturated it. So it would, when the pink leaves fell, it became this pink walkway and beautiful scenery. So they do have a festival every spring, although it's canceled due to, the situation that 2020 brought, which brings people from all over to see the beautiful trees in the spring for cherry blossoms. So I thought that was really cool. But I was really happy to see that Portland made the list because it is really awesome. Have you been to a Japanese garden in your area? Have you been to Japan? They're like everywhere. The gardens, they're beautiful, beautiful. Talk about just like a whole nother world of utopia. It's like this really serene setting. It's really beautiful. So I just wanted to share that with you guys today because I love to travel. And I didn't know that the United States had over 200 of these. So there's obviously more than one in each state. We have 50 states, right? So there's a lot in each state. So I'm going to have to experience that, I think, a little bit more. Everybody, enjoy your Wednesday. I'm super excited for tonight. We have a mastermind training with all of our world-class leaders, the leaders that are just totally into the online space, that have been training us and sharing all this information. They are going to have a whole big powwow today where we get to kind of hear from all of them, little snippets and updates and things that are happening all the time in the online space. So I'm excited to see that tonight. That's going to happen. So I'm really excited for that training. So anyway, you guys have a fantastic Wednesday, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.